Good morning, children. Welcome back to your online business study class. And today we will be starting our another chapter, that was chapter number 12, Consumer Protection. So in this chapter, we are basically going to study about the different way by which the consumer can be protected into the market, and the act and the laws are very important for that. So we are basically going to discuss about the COPRA 1986, that is Consumer Protection Act 1986, which was taken or which was passed by government for the purpose of protecting the consumer from the malpractices or from the different kind of fraud which was occurring into the market. So let's have a introduction of this. So a consumer is said to be a king in a free market economy. This basically say that if a market, a free economy system is going on, a free market economy basically means where there is a perfect competition situation. A same product is sold or produced by many producer. In that case, consumer will have more choices that from where he will be going to purchase the product, right? So that situation is called as free market economy situation. If we talk about the earlier approach, right, so that approach in a market was having केवी टैम्पटर approach. मार्केट में पहले केवी टैम्पटर की अप्रोच यूज होती थी. केवी टैम्पटर अप्रोच बेसिकली से that let the buyer be aware. Let the buyer be aware basically means where seller is playing a role of king, and he has a policy that once the goods was purchased by the purchaser or the buyer, if the good is not giving all the benefit, then it is completely a responsibility of a purchaser. So that was a market situation. In that market situation, we have a policy of KB tempter where the buyer has to face many kind of frauds from the seller side, because seller play a role of king in that time. After some time, the approach of KVIT emptor has been changed into KVIT vendor. Now, according to the KVIT vendor approach, it say let the seller be aware. Let the seller be aware basically say that where a consumer or a buyer is going to play a role of king, and seller has to be very careful at the time of selling the product. Because why? Because it was completely a situation of perfect competition, because the competition was growing on. A same product was sold by many seller. So in case seller will be not aware for producing and selling their product, that time consumer can go through with the another options, right? So just because of this approach only, the market situation was changed out. In time of let the buyer be aware means the KVIT emptor approach also, and even the KVIT vendor approach also, there was lots of kind of malpractices which was occurring into the market, and which was where a consumer is engaged somewhere or a seller is engaged somewhere with cheating with the consumer. That kind of malpractices or fraud are like exploiting and unfair trade practices, defective unsafe product, providing a defective product, and unsafe product which is not safe for the health of a consumer. Adulteration, it means giving a consumer a expiry date of product. False and misleading advertisement, providing a wrong kind of advertisement. Hoarding, black marketing, going through with the option of black marketing where the high prices can be done. So this means that a consumer might be exposed to risk due to unsafe product, might suffer from bad health due to adulterate food product, might be cheated because he misleading by the advertisement, or sell of spurious product, might have to pay a high prices when seller is engaged in overpricing. So these are different kind of cheating or fraud which was occurring into the market, and just to protect all those fraud, it was decided to pass out certain act for the protection of consumer. Now, one of that act was called as Consumer Protection Act 1986, which was being decided, which was passed by government for the purpose of promoting, educating the consumer, and for the purpose of providing protection to the consumer. Right? Now, let's start the importance of consumer protection. Now, when we talk about consumer protection, it's a wide agenda. It means the consumer is spread in the whole world, right? So we need to educate the consumer about the right which they have, about their responsibility also, which they are supposed to fill out before they go through with purchasing any product, or still if there is any kind of fraud occurred with the consumer, they need to go through with the grievances or the redressal agencies, right? So these are all about the importance of Consumer Protection Act. Now Consumer Protection Act की जो importance है, that can be viewed in 2 points, from consumer point of view and the second is from the business point of view. It means importance of consumer protection. Now if we are providing protection to the consumer, what kind of benefit a consumer will be getting? So let's see that from consumer point of view. Consumer ignorance. Now if we talk about the earlier time, there was a consumer was completely ignored into a marketplace. They don't know about their rights, they don't know about the relief available into the market. So it is very necessary for educating the consumer so that they can go through with the relief also, they know their rights, and according to that the consumer can be aware. So this was the first advantage which consumer get because of the consumer protection, right? Next was unorganized consumer. Now consumer need to be organized in a form of consumer organization, so that in case there is any fraud occurred towards the consumer, they all can took towards the interest of a consumer. In India we do have consumer organization which are working into this direction, but still we require to provide lot of protection to the consumer so that the organization cannot cheat them. Now next is widespread exploitation of consumer. What was the importance of consumer protection? Consumer protection के एक important थी that there were lots of exploitation was going through with the consumer into the marketplace, like this exploitation in a cases of unfair trade practice, providing a defective product, unsafe product, expiry date of product, that is adulteration, providing a false and misleading advertisement, giving a wrong information, hoarding boards which we say, black marketing. So these are the different manner by which the consumer was exploited into the market. So just to remove out all those kind of exploitation, it was important to provide consumer protection. Now next was, what was the importance of providing consumer protection to business? Consumer को protection provide करके business को क्या importance मिली? Now if a consumer is protected, what kind of advantage business will be getting? So first is long term interest of business. Now when business person know that the consumer has been given more awareness, they are more educated, they have been given certain relief, right, they have been given certain right. So even the business who want to work for a long period of time, who want to give who want to get a rate of profit or rate of return for a long period of time, they will need to satisfy their consumer, because if the customer is not satisfied, they will not return back to the particular business, right? So in that case every business know that they need to produce a good kind of product with a reasonable rate, so the profit maximization can not only for a short period of time, that this can go for a long period of time, because if consumer will be satisfied, they will give a provide good feedback to the other customer also, and this will increase the help of a business. Next is business use society resources. Now next say that because business is using society resources, it become a responsibility of a business to supply that kind of product and render those services which are into the welfare of public, right? because business कहाँ यूज चल रहा है, एक सोसाइटी के अंदर चल रहा है, तो ये बिजनेस की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है कि वो एक अच्छा प्रोडक्ट और एक रीजनेबल रेट पे प्रोडक्ट प्रोवाइड करे किसे, सोसाइटी को. नेक्स्ट इज सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. नाउ बिजनेस हैज सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑल्सो. वाई? बिकॉज there are lots of people, those who are engaged into the business, they belong to one particular group. Business organization has to make money. How? By selling these goods and providing services to whom? To the consumer only. And these consumer form a very important group among many stakeholders of business. So it is very important for a business to take care about the interest of the stakeholders. Next is moral justification. Now this is basically a moral duty of a business to take care about their customer interest, because if they will avoid it, they are going to exploit their customer also, and they will be not able to get information or a profit into a long period of time. Next is government intervention. Now even the business people know that government has made certain act or law for the purpose of protecting consumer, or if these law are going to be broken from the seller's side or business side, government will come and intervene there, right? No business want that the government intervention is there. कोई भी business अपने में government का intervention नहीं चाहता है, because it is a long procedure where they need to go through with the legal formalities also, and lots of expenditures will also occur if government will intervene over there. So that is the reason they will means the business will need to now go through with those product. They will now go through with the production of those product which is according to the demand or requirement of a customer. Now this was all about the government of India has enacted several regulations designed to provide advocate protection to consumer. It means consumer protection के लिए government of India ने बहुत सारे rules, regulations and act pass किए हैं. These are the legal protection act which we will be discussing today. Now that first that was Consumer Protection Act 1986. Now how we got the information about these all acts? So we are getting the information about all those acts as per the Right to Information Act 2005 Section 4. यानी जो Right of Information Act है 2005 Section 4 के अंदर these information of all the act need to be go through with the public. The first act which was passed by government was Consumer Protection Act for the purpose of promoting the consumer and protecting the interest of consumer. This act basically say that the Consumer Protection Act 1986 was to protect and promote the interest of consumer. यानी ये जो act pass हुआ था consumer को protect करने के लिए, किन चीज़ों से protect करने के लिए? There are lots of cheating which was going into the market that time before 1986. These are as a form of unfair trade practice, as a form of exploitation, as a form of providing defective product, providing less weight product, a product which is not good for the health, giving wrong information. ये क्या है? ये सारे वो cheating है जो कि seller करता है, business करता था consumer के साथ में. Just to promote or just to protect the consumer from all these malpractices, the Consumer Protection Act 1986 has been passed out. Now it was not only that act has been passed, act को pass करने के अलावा they have set up a 3-tier machinery system here into COPRA 1986. यानी Consumer Protection Act 1986 के अंदर 3-tier machinery system setup हुआ था. These 3 tier are called District Forum, State Commission and National Commission, which we will be discussing later on in deep. Right, so these 3 tier are basically working if the consumer is cheated into the market and he or she has filled the complaint, so complaint will be filled into these 3-tier machinery system. Now except these 3-tier machinery, there was also provided the formation of Consumer Protection Council. एक Consumer Protection Council भी form करी गई थी हर एक district में और state में, right? Now second is the Indian Contract Act 1872. Now this was another act which was passed by the government for the purpose of consumer. This was Indian Contract Act 1872. According to this act, it say that the act lay down the condition in which the promises made by the parties to a contract will be binding on each other. The act also specify remedies available to a party in case of breach of contract. Means the Indian Contract Act 1872 कब use होता था? In case the two party, those who are engaged in the process of exchanging of goods, right? Or they have make certain promises to each other, जो promise उनको bind करता था act contract के अंदर में, right? In case that contracts, any party has breached out that contract, it means contract में जो भी promises लिखे हुए थे, दो में से किसी भी parties ने अगर उस contract के promises को breach कर दिया है, so that time they can go through with the act of Indian Contract Act 1872 और 1872 के according ही उन्हें remedies provide की जाएगी. Next is the Sale of Good Act 1930. Now Sale of Good Act 1930 was basically providing safeguard and relief to the buyer of goods in case of good purchase do not comply with express or implied condition or warranties. It means Sale of Good Act 1930 कब use होता था? This was basically providing a protection to the consumer or buyer if once he has purchased the goods and the good is not complying, good में वो qualities नहीं है, implied नहीं हो रही हैं जो कि express करी गई हैं condition और warranties में. So in that case consumer can go through with Sale of Good Act 1930. Next is the Essential Commodity Act 1955. नाउ दिस एक्ट वाज पास्ड फॉर द इसेंशियल कमोडिटीज, यानी कोई ज़रूरी कमोडिटीज़ जो होती हैं ये एक्ट सिर्फ उनके लिए यूटिलाइज होता था। एंड दिस एक्ट का जो मेन एम था, इट वाज कंट्रोलिंग द प्रोडक्शन, सप्लाई एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ इसेंशियल कमोडिटी, यानी जो ज़रूरी कमोडिटीज़ होती थी उनके, इसका मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव था उनके प्रोडक्शन को कंट्रोल करना, उनके सप्लाई को कंट्रोल करना, उनके डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन को कंट्रोल करना, जस्ट टू चेक दैट द प्राइसेस आर नॉट इन्फ्लेटेड, यानी प्राइसेस जो है सडनली इंक्रीज ना हो जाए, और जो इसका डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हो रहा है एसेंशियल कमोडिटीज़ का वो कैसा हो रहा है, इक्वली हो रहा है सोसाइटीज़ में। नेक्स्ट इज द एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्ट or agriculture produce grading and marking act. Now this is basically a AG mark product, right? This basically से 1937 के अंदर ये एक्ट बोलता है that this basically provide a grade standard for agriculture commodities and livestock product, यानी एग्रीकल्चर से रिलेटेड जितनी कमोडिटीज़ होती हैं, जितने प्रोडक्ट होते हैं या लाइव स्टॉक प्रोडक्ट जो हमारे होते हैं उनके लिए एक स्टैंडर्ड प्रोवाइड करना, एक बेंचमार्क बनाना, दैट इज द वर्क ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस ग्रेडिंग एक्ट. Now this act basically say that the condition which govern the use of standard and lay down procedure for grading, marking, पैकिंग ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस. इट मीन्स एग्रीकल्चर से रिलेटेड जितने प्रोडक्ट प्रोड्यूस होते हैं वो किस तरह से पैक होंगे, ग्रेड होंगे, मार्क आउट होंगे, वो प्रॉपरली 1937 एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस ग्रेडिंग एंड मार्किंग एक्ट के अंदर आते हैं. नाउ अ क्वालिटी मार्क इज प्रोवाइडेड बाय दिस एक्ट, और उस क्वालिटी मार्क को एजी मार्क बोलते हैं, which is basically a agriculture marketing mark. Next is the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954. The Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954 basically say that this act aim is to check adulteration of food articles and ensure their purity so as to maintain public. This 1954 act is basically used to just to aim to check that the food product which are going to be into the market, जो मार्केट में सोल्ड होने वाले हैं, ये इंश्योर करना कि वो प्योर हैं, प्योरिटी है उनमें, एंड दे आर मेंटेनिंग द पब्लिक हेल्थ, वो पब्लिक हेल्थ को मेंटेन करेंगे, दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू गिव अ रॉन्ग इफेक्ट और वर्स इफेक्ट टू द हेल्थ ऑफ अ पब्लिक. Next is Standard of Weight and Measure Act 1976. Now Standard of Weight and Measure Act 1976 basically say that there are certain goods which are sold or distributed by weight, measure और number. कुछ गुड्स होते हैं जो सोल्ड होते हैं किस बेसिस में, उनके वेट के अकॉर्डिंग, मेजरमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग या नंबर के अकॉर्डिंग. सो इट प्रोवाइड प्रोटेक्शन टू कंज्यूमर अगेन द माल प्रैक्टिसेस ऑफ अंडर वेट और अंडर मेजर. It means if any consumer is there who have been provided underweight product or under measure product, so they can go through with the relief of the Standard of Weight and Measure Act 1976. Next is the Trademark Act 1999. Now this act has replaced and repealed and replaced the Trade and Merchandise Mark Act 1958. It means Trademark Act 1990 से पहले जो दूसरा एक्ट इसकी जगह यूज होता था, that was called as Trade and Merchandise Mark Act 1958, which was later on reduced or which was later on replaced by 1999, right? Now this act is basically made to prevent the use of fraudulent mark on product and thus provide protection to the consumer against such product. There are such product which are containing a fraud mark, यानी एक गलत ट्रेडमार्क लगा देते हैं किसी प्रोडक्ट को, सो दैट प्रोडक्ट की सेलिंग जो है इंक्रीज हो जाए. सो दिस एक्ट वाज पास्ड just for protecting the consumer by making the fraud in providing a wrong trademark into the product. Next was the Competition Act 2002. Now this act has repealed and replaced the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practice Act 1969. Now this is very important concept. Monopoly or restrictive trade 1969 बोलता था that there was a monopoly system of one product. एक प्रोडक्ट को एक ही सेलर सोल्ड कर रहा था. इसकी वजह से क्या हो रहा था, कंज्यूमर डज नॉट हैव मोर ऑप्शन, कंज्यूमर के पास में ज़्यादा चॉइसेस नहीं थी. एक रिस्ट्रिक्शन होता था दैट दे नीड टू परचेज इट फ्रॉम दैट प्रोड्यूसर ओनली, बिकॉज उसके अलावा कोई दूसरा सेलर है नहीं उसका. सो दिस एक्ट वॉज लेटर ऑन रिप्लेस बाय कॉम्पिटिशन एक्ट 2002. इसको कॉम्पिटिशन एक्ट 2002 के थ्रू रिप्लेस कर दिया गया था. And it was basically practice adopted by business firm which hamper competition into the market. यानी मार्केट में कंपटीशन को इंक्रीज करना, ये सब काम इस एक्ट के अंदर होते थे. बिकॉज इफ द कंपटीशन विल बी इंक्रीज, मार्केट सिचुएशन अगर परफेक्ट मार्केट में रिप्लेस्ड हो गई, सो द कंज्यूमर विल बी मोर बेनिफिशियल बाय दैट, बिकॉज नाउ दे विल हैव मोर चॉइसेस ऑफ देयर प्रोडक्ट. Now the next was the Bureau of Indian Standard Act 1986. इसको हम BIS और ISI के थ्रू भी समझ सकते हैं. Now Bureau of Indian Standard BIS has been set up. Under the act, the Bureau has two major activities: formulation of quality standard for goods and their certification through the BIS certification scheme. यानी जो ब्यूरो एक्ट था इसके दो मेन काम थे. एक तो क्वालिटी स्टैंडर्ड को फॉर्मुलेट करना यानी क्वालिटी स्टैंडर्ड को डिसाइड करना और उनको सर्टिफिकेट प्रोवाइड कराना BIS के थ्रू. Manufacturing are permitted to use the ISI mark on their product only after ensuring the goods conform to the prescribed quality standard. और वो जो manufacturing companies होती थी, they are utilized, they have been permitted to use ISI mark. उनको permission मिल गई थी कि वो अपने product में ISI mark को use करें just to ensure that the goods conform to the prescribed quality standard. Once BIS एक बार इनको information दे देगा, इनको एक relief दे देगा that they can, their product is a qualified product, they can use the mark, so that after that these marks can be utilized on the product. Or the bureau has also set up a grievances cell where consumer can make a complaint about the quality of product carrying the ISI mark. If there is any product which is having ISI mark, जिसके प्रोडक्ट पे ISI का मार्क लगा हुआ है, but it is not containing that compliances जो कि BIS में decide हो रखे हैं, so consumer can complain. For that, grievances cell has also been decided or made by Bureau of Indian Standard, or according to the quality, then the decision can be taken by BIS. So this was about the Bureau of Indian Standard Act 1986. Now these all act has been passed by government for the purpose of protection of the consumer. Next we will be talking about the Consumer Protection Act and their rights and responsibility in another video.